Hello, it's July the 4th, and we're bringing you another buzz. This what is entitled Sports Teams Have Issues. I'm Bob Ryan, and here we go. All of us are grateful for many relationships in our job, with our family, but most of us, probably all of us, have issues in those situations. In fact, there was a distribution issue for me this week trying to get ready to get everything out. Same is true in sports. Many teams, players, schools have issues also. Let's take a look. Off the field, but still a real issue for the Major League, is their coverage. The decline of regional sports networks like Bally Sports is causing financial concerns for some teams, and it will affect players' salaries eventually. It's hard for Joe Average guy like us to have much empathy for the Major League players moaning over their salaries. But keep in mind human nature. Once you get accustomed to a particular salary, it is very, very hard to go backwards. On the MLB field, there has been a constant issue about the MLB strike zones for decades. There were pitchers umpires, there were low ball umpires, high ball umpires. Strike zones for some were good and some not so good on certain given days. Not only is its reliability, but the slight differences from one home plate umpire to another the next day does cause constant adjustment. Therefore, I think it won't be long until we have an automated strike zone. The biggest challenge from my eyes right now is the speed that the automated call will reach the home plate umpire. My suggestion would be an MLB official sits in a spot in the press box to see the pitch on replay and determine if it's touched the borderlines of the strike zone. If the ball touches any part of that border, it's a strike. It doesn't have to be entirely inside it, as long as it touches it. Meanwhile, he'll look to see if not, the pitch touches any of that box that we see on TV. Then, instantly, he'll send an electronic notice to the home plate umpire. Maybe two buzzers will be used, one in his right hand, one in his left hand. If he gets buzzed in the right hand, he knows it's a strike. If it's in the left hand, it's a ball. How quickly do you think they could do it? I think they could do it under 5 seconds. Pretty quick. Some pitches are obvious, so a call isn't even needed. If the batter swings and misses, they don't have to send any note down there. Or if a batter fouls it off. Question I have is, why do we expect the umpires to be so perfect throughout a game with close to 290 pitches per game? These pitches are coming in above 90 miles an hour with lots of movement and changing directions throughout the pitch. Many times they just barely touch the strike zone or just barely miss it. The electronic modification of strike zone would be a major improvement for Major League Baseball. Moving on, next topic. Cardinals have turned around their expected issues and made it into a strong part of their team. At the beginning of this 2025 season, all the talk of spring training is about elevating their offensive stats. I think most fans are surprised by their offensive output to this point in the season. As I write this, the Cards are 4th in the National League in runs scored. By far, to me, the most important category. In offense, you want to score runs. They're 5th in on-base percentage. So those are two key items. And I was really surprised the Cardinals, who I thought were running a lot more on the bases this year, they're 11th in the National League in stolen bases. They're sitting in the 7th spot, meanwhile, in hitting home runs in the National League. So they're right in the middle of the entire league in both those categories. Moving on to another category, some are concerned about the Cardinals' defense prior to the 2025 season. But as the spring unfolded, the players realized at some point our defense is good, really good. Wilson Contreras has shocked evaluators and sure shocked me with how he has adapted to playing first base. He's started just 4 games in his entire career before this season, but he's done a magnificent job over there. He brings a lot of life in addition to his solid play at first base. Contreras has exceeded those expectations, but it made it tough when he had to follow Paul Goldschmidt, who is one of the smoothest fielding first basemen in the major leagues. But as we turn the calendar page of July, Contreras has become the least of our worries. He's made all the plays and seems to be not only a good player, but he sure is a talker with all those base runners, man. He's in conversations all the time. Moving on to our next topic. With the constant gradual decline of minor league baseball, some, maybe many, young players have missed the deeper instructions on the fundamentals of the baseball game. But even beyond that is a recent Chicago Cub outfielder, Pete Crow Armstrong. He didn't know how many outs there were in the inning. This is not a major league skill. This is a skill you learn in about 4th or 5th grade. He didn't know how many outs there were. So as he caught a fly ball, he thought it was the 3rd out and tossed the ball into the stands. Much to his surprise and dismay, he found that there was only the 2nd out of the inning. And when he tossed the ball into the stands, it allowed the runner on second base to advance 2 bases, thus scoring a run. There's no excuse for that. Should never happen. I've never heard it happening in my entire career, even on youth baseball. I bet from now on, though, the coaches will be yelling to Crow Armstrong after every out, how many outs are there out there? And he'll get tired of it, but he'll catch on. Next topic. One major league team without issues is the Oakland Athletics. I know you're shocked to hear that. Oakland Athletics. A longtime cellar dweller, Oakland is still 28th in the major leagues out of 30 teams in spending, which is an issue for some administrators and observers of baseball. Yet here they are, right in the midpoint of several batting categories in the American League. They're 9th of 16 teams in runs scored. They're 5th in the American League in home runs. They're 11th in stolen bases, 7th in team batting average, 8th in team OBP, which means on-base percentage. Congratulations to them for moving all the way up the American League ladder in performance with that salary base, which is quite low. Let's move on. One team and one player on that team have some serious issues. With major surgeries on the horizon, Alex Pietrangelo will likely be shut down and miss the entire 25-26 hockey season for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. That long layoff could lead him into the end of the road for his future. I believe he's a future Hall of Famer. As a non-hockey expert, in fact, I don't think I'm an expert in anything, when the Blues parted with Pietrangelo, they lost their leader, a defender who could ignite transition, he could handle the puck well himself, and he can find open other players on the ice to pass the ball to him, and they've never been able to replace him. I don't know if they ever will for a long time because he was a tremendous player. I wish that the Blues could get him back, for a short time, 5 or 10 games, and then the fans could celebrate his retirement for all the many wonderful years he's had here in St. Louis. Moving on. Here's an NBA issue. Now, this is pretty surprising. I rarely talk about the NBA, but this is fascinating to me. The Los Angeles Lakers are ready to crown Luka Doncic as their next star on their team. The problem is, LeBron James is still choosing to be on the team and pick up his $52.6 million player option for the 25-26 season. James would have to swallow some humility if he does decide to return, because for the first time in his career, he would not be the man to go to lead the team in crucial spots. Usually, in the last 5 minutes of an NBA game, which determines the winner, the superstar gets the ball frequently and controls the action in those last 5 minutes. From my eyes, they're not anywhere close to that situation. I'd ask the 40-year-old James to step aside, but it'd be very, very tough. Superstars have been spoiled their entire career, so asking him to step aside early is a real concession. Keep your eyes on that situation. Moving on. The NCAA faces new issues. It's money versus education. How much money will they allow players to earn each year? The newest modification in the NCAA is that the schools may now pay their athletes. Oh boy, where will it stop? Does their salary get tied into their academic or athletic performance? Oh wait, I hear some of you chuckling about academic performance. For decades, if a player did not have 15 hours worth of credit with a 2.0 GPA, they would not be eligible to play sports for that season, even if they changed schools. Those standards, though, have been completely thrown out. They're all gone. Now it's about catering to superstar players for a year or two when they decide to leave and go to pro sports. Next topic. Maybe there should be an athletic workout center established by the NFL or NBA or even MLB to help these youngsters develop their skills for their future job instead of the college charade that they play now. Most of them, to my eyes, currently use very little, if any, of their college academics learning to better themselves. Add to that the wide open transfer portal, the stress between the head coaches and agents for the players, the normal stress for a player adjusting to college. All these issues for players, coaches, and the institutions themselves have the college sports world spinning around out of control without a real landing point in view. Next topic. The MLB has really addressed some of their own issues during 2025. There has been an improved contact rate in the MLB. Contact meaning the batter hits the ball some way, puts it in play. Since there is more contact, there are fewer strikeouts. And carrying it one step further, with Major League Baseball strikeout percentage down significantly, that leads us to an increase in batting average. That means more hits, more runners on base, more runs. That's exactly what the fans want to see. Further, almost all teams are increasingly more aggressive on the base pass as they challenge the outfield arms and accuracy very frequently once they're on base. It seems to me that the MLB has turned a page and now is seeking very talented athletes, not just baseball players, as young players that they can develop into all-around assets for their team. Next topic. The MLB fans' issues centered around more action. So the owners went out and tried to please them and find ways to get more action in the game. That led them to noticeable rise in stolen base attempts. The MLB wanted that result when they installed a limit on the number of throws to first base. Fans love the stolen base attempts. It's lots of action and often leads to more runs, more excitement. For example, in the first 3 weeks of the 2025 season, the attempt rate for stolen bases was 7.8% of all runners compared to 6.3% in 2023. That's 1.5%, over 25% jump up. Additionally, the success rate for stolen bases in the first 3 weeks was 79%, which is, believe it or not, slightly down from 81% in 2023, but the overall number of stolen bases is far higher due to much more attempts. Moving on. While we're in the MLB, this is St. Louis, we got to talk about baseball. What about St. Louis players in the MLB? Players who were able to overcome the issues of reaching the highest level in baseball, the MLB, the major leagues. Jake Burger from CBC played for the Chicago White Sox. Now he's played for the Miami Marlins and currently he's on the Texas Rangers. He was drafted by the White Sox way back in 2017 and made his debut in the major leagues in 2021. In 2023, Burger was traded to the Marlins and traded again to the Rangers during the 2024 winter meetings. Burger has primarily played third base, but also has experience at first base and second base as well as DH. Any other players in the MLB from St. Louis? Yes, there's two more. Relief pitcher Devin Williams, who attended Hazelwood West, is in his 7th season in the Major League. He's a very valuable closer for many, many years, and he's still there. Another St. Louis high school player is Matt Vierling, another CBC grad, who is currently on the Detroit Tigers roster. He's played in over 400 games in his 5-year career. Moving on now, next topic. The MLB has been facing an issue for decades: financial disparity between the teams. There's always been a wide difference in ownership's financial status, but this ever-increasing difference in payrolls between teams leads to an uneven playing field, which is not good for the sport of baseball. The team's got to be somewhat even. It could lead to diminishing interest as fewer teams have a realistic chance of contending, despite the expanded playoff situation. Right now, 12 of the 30 teams reach the playoffs. That's 40% of the teams in the entire league. With this lower bar set for teams to reach the playoffs, Expectations of the fans should be elevated, but won't be if the salary scales are far apart. Fans sometimes have the idea that the team with the best regular season record should be a favorite in the postseason. That might have been true decades ago prior to expansion of the playoffs. But since 1998, only 7 of the teams in the last 27 years with the best regular season record have won the World Series. 7 out of 27. And those teams were the 98 Yankees, 2007 Red Sox, the 2009 Yankees, the 2013 Red Sox, 2016 Cubs, 2018 Red Sox, and the 2020 Dodgers. I really do think that the expansion of the many postseason series, which generates huge money for the MLB and their teams, makes it much tougher for the best teams to repeat and win all these series. They must win at least 3 series to get into the World Series, and then they have to win there. Makes it much tougher. Well, that's going to wrap it up. It doesn't mean I've touched all the issues I wanted to cover today, but we'll be back with you next week. Thanks for tuning in, and we urge you to send any comments you like to Bob Ryan on Facebook and let us know what you think. It's Bob Ryan signing off for now.